We're talking about suspension, wheel alignment. I'm Tom. This is the Pit Pony series. Let's go get it. I'm about to jump this big for 30,000 feet. So why do we need suspension, and how do you know it's the right time to get it? Well, to be honest, you know it's the right time to get it if you're going to do any type of performance driving. I'm sure you've all seen what a broken shock or a blown shock looks like. It's a pretty horrendous feat. Don't do that. But why do we need it? Well, if you're trying to improve your lap times and overall performance in a car, it's probably the first thing that you should do to your car when installing any type of mod, really. The differences between, stock and aftermarket suspension. A stock can only do so much, and they do their job pretty well. The longevity is also really, really good, but an aftermarket suspension with a real fine-tuned adjustment can allow us to stick to the track a little bit better by making sure the surface area of our tire is sticking to that ground at any point in time, especially around those hard turns. And for us, that's really, really important because this is a track car. Now, this little dampening tool up here that you can see, basically we can turn this as soft or as hard as we really want to. And most people think that going really, really hard is a good idea. That's not the case, because if you're tuned way too hard and you're going around a corner quite quickly and quite aggressively, all that's actually happening is the car, if you can imagine that this is also another coilover, it's basically all too locked up. So when you hit that corner, there's no tire sticking to the track. We need to find that perfect balance between soft and firm, where as we come into the corner, we're putting the weight into one side of the car. This coilover, I should say, is still maintaining its course on the road. Remember, the whole idea as to why we're doing the suspension is so that we can get maximum amount of tire onto the road at all times. All right, so now this is a really good opportunity to talk about wheel alignments. Why are they so important, and what are we trying to do here for our Pit Pony? Well, let me just explain a few things to you for those that don't know. We're talking about camber, caster, and toe. So what does that really mean? Well, it's really simple. Camber is our lean from our middle degree. So we're talking about minusing our camber. You have toe, which is basically showing the way the tire is essentially from straight. You can bend it in, bend it out. That has to be calculated. That can really determine mileage on your car. It can also determine essentially how rigid and comfortable your ride is also going to be too. And then we have caster. So if you can imagine just for 1 second that this is the car that is within here. Here's our tire, we've got the open face over here, and this is where our suspension is sitting. So with caster, this is our neutral position. If we rolled it further this way, and this is the way the suspension sat, this is positive caster. If the suspension was sitting all the way back here from middle, this is negative caster. So what are we aiming for today in our suspension setup? We need a better ride height, and we need more control over our car. If we don't have enough control, it's hard for us to determine how hard to hit a corner, what speed we should go, and it increases our drivability, especially on those little foot pedals. All right, so coilovers, what are they? What are the different types of suspension that are out there? Well, most people can buy springs separately, you can buy shocks separately, that's completely fine, or you get a package together, you get something called a coilover. There's also air suspension, which isn't something that we're really sort of going for here, especially on a track. They are pretty good these days, but it's just not something that I can personally vouch for. What are the different tiers, and how do you know to pick what suspension for your car? So the way I break this up is you've got a difference of 3, maybe 4 tiers here. So I think we should probably just stop talking about coilovers and let's go install them. Let's go see our guys over at Whiteline. So let me just give you a reason why you should be buying Whiteline through Pro Speed Racing. Come on. Get this legend in. This is how you get everything in. like I said, if you need any more proof that you need to be buying Whiteline through Pro Speed Racing, look how fast it took us to get here. Think about how fast it'll take us to get the parts to you. So I gotta say, like, it's definitely tighter. It's hard to know for sure how this is gonna turn out. We've only set this up for the street, so we'll have to readjust it when we go to the track. But it's tight. It's tight. It's absolutely worth it. Suspension is night and day. The difference between stock and an aftermarket such as AST Whiteline like we have on now is the best thing you can do. I recommend it's probably the first thing you should do to a car. Get in touch with us, Pro Speed Racing, www.prospeedracing.com.au. You can hit us up on socials. Otherwise, that's the suspension episode, guys. Thanks for coming to Pit Pony.